All right, we're going to give this a whirl. Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, July 31st, 2019. Last day of July. Can't believe it. I can't believe we are heading into August, and then it's going to be Christmas before we know it. I'm with my friend Steve Emanuelli here. We're very excited to have him on the show today. Let us know you can hear us and see us. That's the most important part. The club's been experiencing some very interesting Wi-Fi issues. All right, Tanya's on. Hi, Tanya. Give us a heart and a thumbs up and let us know you can hear us and see us. Tyler, what's up? All right, so we got the heart. We got the thumbs up. What's up, buddy? So welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you on. I love your energy. I love the message. Hey, Ash.
Hey, Ash.
What's going on?
Our
Nikki,
brother.
I love Ash. I love your energy, and I love what you talk about, and I love the gratitude that's in everything that you talk about, even earlier when we were talking before the show. What's up, Nikki? It was just all about gratitude. Just you constantly were talking about people who helped you, and so I'm very excited to talk about your journey. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ted.
Very excited.
I'm so excited to be here, to be honest with you. I was looking forward and telling everybody, not the idea of being on the show, is just having the experience to be with this gentleman, because if you ever watch a show, this guy is all about talking about others. Never ever give him any credit.
Oh, you're
so if anybody, give him some credit, some hearts and love right now, before we go anything, like a 4th of July right now.
That is kind of you, and I did not pay him to say that, I promise. It's very sweet. So you have, I love when guests come on and they've got an agenda and stuff they really want to talk about because there's so much passion there. But before we get to that, everybody always likes to know the origin story. They want to know about Steve. They want to know a little bit about your background. And then that helps with the journey. That helps them understand how you got to where you're at. So give us a little background on you.
All right, I was born down in Hialeah, Florida. I'm not gonna say how old I am, but I'll tell you, I'm 54 years old.
Looks like Devin and so.
Yeah, that's my family. Hi, this is my family watching.
Hi, family.
Me. How you doing? For years I lived down in Miami. It was a challenge, and when I had to come up here to Orlando, it was a different direction I had to do. It was a challenge, but I did it.
Why was it a challenge in Miami? Did you grow up there, or moved here as an adult?
Well, the thing is, I moved up here as an adult. It was challenging because of everything that's going on. It was too fast, and I see that people down there tends to move a little too fast, and they're not really worrying about so much about others. It's all about themselves. And I need to see, if I want to have a family, I want to move in an area that I can see is good education, a good future, and I know it could be a great investment for me if I have to purchase a home. So that's when I went to Orlando, and I met my beautiful, beautiful wife. I love you so, Paul. And then what happened, we decided she wanted to see Miami. So I said, well, let's go back to Miami. So we did. And
what was going on in Miami? Did you always, obviously most people aren't born and then they want to be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
What were you, you're a veteran.
Yes.
Thank you for your service. I mean that when I say it. What were you doing? How did you kind of get the journey? How did you get to being a real estate professional? Did you move up here and that's when you became one, or were you one in Miami as well?
Wow, that's a really crazy question, but I'm going to tell you what happened was I was working in the restaurant industry, and there was a lot of successful realtors were coming into the restaurant, flippers, developers, and then they gave me an opportunity to say, Steve, well, you want to make some extra money on the side? And I did. I went in there and I was the one that knocked the walls down, threw out in the trash can, and then I saw these guys come up with these expensive cars and coming out with their phones, not even sweating, but you could smell their cologne.
You were doing the rehab work.
Yes.
The people who were doing the flip.
Yes.
I got you.
So I got this one guy, he told me, he said, Steve, you're wasting your time here. I see something that you don't see. And you should become a realtor. So I did. And at that time it was tough because I was flipping, I was destroying houses, working in restaurants, coming home full of dust, and then I take a shower, get in the books, and study to get my license. And at the same time, we were having our first child. So I knew there was some motivation behind all this. I knew there was a reason I had to change.
Sure. And so what you did, you got your license there.
Yes.
So you worked in the Miami market.
Yes, I did.
A completely different world than
Oh,
here.
it was
right?
so
It's
different.
so it still is
Yeah.
different. But the motivation to move up here had to do with raising your family in a different environment. You wanted to change from the Miami scene.
Sort of. It was an accident. I had to come back here. My dad and I, we never got along for years because of my mother's, leaving, and it looked like it was something that him and I did not get along. But it took a while. So when my son was born, my dad and I got connected with the help of softball. I love you, baby. And but he never told us a secret that he didn't want me to know. He was diagnosed with cancer. He kept it secret. And we decided we want to give everything up in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and move up here to take care of my father. And I did. And with the help of my wife, we were every day laying next to him in the bed, until the day he passed away. And when he passed away, we decided we're going to stay here in Orlando and raise a family. So that I took my career from real estate down there and bring it up here. But I had to find a right company.
Sure.
I had to find someone who thinks like me and everything.
How easy was that?
It was a challenge. It was
I
a
imagine.
challenge because everybody wants to sign you up.
Yeah.
Everybody says, "Oh, I could have you under my wings," but I did. I experienced with different brokers, and I learned the hard way. But I had to learn that to find someone, we have to work as a team, and that's why I never give up. I never ever decided that I'm going to quit this business, because I didn't. I had some great people. My wife told me, go look for another company. Go look for another company. And I did. And when I found the right company and what it had to offer me, I knew I found the right place.
How does but I think never give up, it sounds like, at least from the conversations we've had, it feels like that has always been something that's in you. It's part of you.
Yes.
So were there, being a veteran I'll thank you. Oh, so sweet. See, people are very sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
How was that? Did you apply that when you were a veteran? Because being a veteran is a big deal, being a active military. So when you transition out, that had to be in your mind too, because transition out of the military into civilian life is a big challenge for the majority of our military people.
The military teaches a lot of things. They tend to never give up, and always look out for the person on the right and the left of you. I always tell people this great story. I was, in the beginning, when I first got in the military, I was a little skinny kid, couldn't run, do good push-ups, but I couldn't even run a mile, and that's the truth. But at the end of my basic, I easily ran 5 miles like it was nothing.
Nice.
But I bragged about it. And when I went across the line, the drill sergeant says, "Hey, are you happy?" And I go, "Yes, I am." He goes, "Why?" "I made it across the line." You know what he says? "Look behind you. There's people who didn't."
Oh, yeah, that's
That
a moment.
That made me feel this small. And he goes, "What are you going to do?" And I says, "I'm going to go get him." He goes, "Go get him."
Oh,
And I went over and I got those people, and I brought them across the line. And the point is, you never forget
yeah.
the people behind you, because there was a time you were them. And I learned to use the same process with real estate, with my buyers, my sellers, even with my family and the co-workers around me. You might be making more money than me, but I'll never forget you.
Right. I think a lot of people do, though. They get, I'm a big believer in planting seeds. There's that whole quote about, you plant seeds, trees you'll never see the shade of. There's so many things that we do in our lives, and I think people plant the seeds with an immediate expectation, and instead of just planting the seed and realizing you're going to be rewarded a million times over
100%.
in a million different other ways, you still need to plant the seed. They get this expectation in, and then that's when people get disappointed.
Absolutely. And this is what I tell everybody, all you new agents out there, even though agents have been around for 15, 20 years, everybody starts from the beginning. You know, people walk in an office and don't even say, "Hey, Ted."
I know.
Isn't that crazy? I mean,
know,
your own
it's
office,
crazy.
they don't even say hello to you.
Yeah.
They walk right by and say, "I'm too good for you." You know what? My mother was my greatest mentor. She says, remember the people that help you climb the ladder, because one day on the way down, you might pass them up.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's my life that I've learned to never give up. So I walk in the office, people will feel intimidated by me, but you know what? I smile at them and I say hello to them.
Correct.
But I tell you something, I've worked with a lot of people and I learned from a lot of people. There's some people I did not like working with, but they taught me something in life. They taught me you have to be professional. So every person I've worked in the past, I cannot say nothing bad about them because they taught me something that I got out of them. But every time I went to a different place, I got better.
So how do you keep that? And hello, Shelley from San Diego. How do you keep that thought process, that mentality, that mantra, while you're dealing in the minutia of our industry, or really any industry? It doesn't matter what business you're in, but ours, I know firsthand, there's like 1,000 moving parts. He's the one in trouble all the time with the different moving parts. How do you keep focused on that, never give up, and live that when you have all of these people and all of these things pulling at you?
You know, one thing is, when I ever go into a situation that it kind of brings me a little confused, a little dizzy, or even something I don't understand, I'd be honest with you, I would take a couple steps back. You know what I mean? I would go back in my office. I'll go to my wife. I go to my coach, which, Matthew, you're amazing, great mentor. He taught me something and says, you know what? I'm just behind that door anytime you need me. When you deal with situations like that, or you have a broker who's giving you that enough comfort, you can handle any situation. And I agree. Like I was telling him, if you have a good lender, that you have a good relationship, and you don't understand a certain deal, don't be ashamed. Call the lender and say, hey, have you ever dealt with a buyer like this? Have you ever dealt with a seller or heard anybody? They'll always have somebody to help you.
That's true, because I think people are afraid to ask questions. They're afraid to
Absolutely.
appear that they don't know the answer. I come on the show all the time and tell people I don't know anything. I know a little bit about a lot, but I will always tell you point blank, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to find out the answer for you. But I think people get so caught up, I have to be the expert, I have to be the pro. Well, you could still have things, I think that's your wife, you could still have things that you don't know. There's nothing wrong with, there's no weakness in admitting I don't know the answer. And I think we get so caught up in this bravada, this thing. And so I love that, because I think we have to ask more questions. I ask questions all the time. There are things that come to me, I don't know the answer. I have zero idea, but I'm gonna find it out for you. And I think a lot of people they go black or white. I don't know the answer. I'm going to tell you what you want to hear, or I'm going to bury my head in the sand and not communicate with you. So you're not going to hear from me for 3 weeks.
It's true.
That's the part that drives me crazy. Like, just tell me you don't know. Just say, I don't know, Ted. I don't know, but I'm not going to ignore your client. I'm not going to ignore your referral. I'm not going to ignore you.
I agree. I tell Ted all the time, the way I've been taught, that if you don't know, just be honest and say it. Don't. Because you know what? You ever heard a saying, I caught a fish this big, a week later I caught a fish this big? People that tend to make their stories different every time.
Yeah.
Just be honest, you know? And I've learned, and some people say, you don't know? And I go, no. There was a time you didn't know.
That's correct. There's still a time I don't know, like on a daily basis. So obviously family is important to you.
Yes.
And you referenced a little bit about your dad and that relationship. So how did you parent differently? How did you build a relationship how are you building a relationship with your kids differently?
It's really challenging, because with the way I was raised, it was a time of what today is so different, because in the early 60s and 70s, everybody was a family today, because you only need one person to take care of the home.
Right.
At time 80s and 90s, 2000, you need two incomes to take home.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I told my wife that if we're gonna have a family, I'm gonna work morning to night. Okay? All I want you is to be the great mother you are. And she does. When my kids come home from school, she sits down with them, goes over the homework. But then she follows up and lets me know when I get home that Devin is a straight A student.
Yeah, that's
Devin
awesome.
just got a teacher remark saying, look at the piece of paper, and the piece of paper is saying, your son is my favorite in the class. I recommend him to be in a different class because he's smarter than the average kid. And I'm proud of him. When I take him to play golf, people look up to me and come up to him and say, hey, Devin, can I get a high five? You know what I tell him? And Devin looks at me and goes, I'll shake your hand, sir. Because you know what I taught him? To respect by shaking hands. Because I want people to understand that it comes from his heart, and I don't want him to disrespect anyone. Sure. And guess what? He goes all the golf course, every man shakes Devin hand.
That. You know what I also love is that you're leading by example.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times it could be parenting, it could be as a manager, a leader, you're telling them something and you're doing something completely different. And that's where people get confused. Your kids get confused, your spouse gets confused, your team gets confused, because all you're doing is you're preaching one thing and all they're doing is seeing you do something completely different.
I agree.
And I'm amazed sometimes at the leadership that I see. Freedom's amazing, so I'm blessed to be with the home team at Freedom because they lead by example. That's what you want. But I have worked with companies where they tell us to do one thing and then they're doing something completely different. It's confusing. It sends a really bad message. It sends a really bad message, and especially when you're parenting and you're trying to raise your kids, you want to give them a consistent message. How else are they going to figure out their parameters and where their foundation is if you're constantly changing that? So I love that you do that. All right, you have notes. I want to make sure we cover everything that Steve has on his notes. I love it when people bring notes. I do, because I don't do notes, as you guys know. And so I love it because what that means to me that you have something from your heart that you want to make sure we cover. And I try to ask the questions. I try to ask the questions that I think people will want to know and that I want to know. But sometimes I miss some things.
Ted, I think you covered a lot of it. I'm very, I've learned from my experience, I've always, if I meet with buyers or sellers, I have notes in front of me, check off to make sure I don't leave nothing out for them, because when they are buying or they're selling a home, it's a very stressful time of their life.
Very.
Because they're afraid they're going to be doing things on their own. And I let them know. I says, no, you have this. I don't use the word I. When a realtor says, I sold your home, or a realtor says, I helped your home, I think that's ridiculous. It's your office, your team, the lenders, the title companies. There's so many people around you helped you. You're not the lender. You're not the broker. And if you're the broker, your receptionist helped you out do all the paperwork. Am I right or wrong?
You're 100%.
So you got to let them know, I have a great team to help you find. And I've done this. I basically, there's a lot of things here that I wrote down, and I'm going to tell something that people don't understand it. One person once told me, Steve, you don't need a coach. And I believe that if you're a parent, you're a coach to your own children.
Agreed.
Great?
Absolutely.
I was ignorant. I thought I didn't need a coach, but then eventually I did. I got a great coach in Keller Williams. Matthew, you're amazing. Awesome guy. Keller Williams Heritage Realty, in Altamont Springs. But I have another coach is in the core. It's Anthony Richard. And he always tells me, don't ever use the word I anymore. But using that coaching system has brought me to that next level. And I was so important, and I realized I was from here and to the point I never gave up. And that's what I thought it'd be a great idea. And that word think is no longer in my vocabulary. You know what I mean? I
love it.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's another thing. I always tell a lot of things else in this piece of paper I mentioned about when I'm dealing with buyers. You know the whole term, buyers are liars? They're not buyers or liars. They're just nervous. They have no clue. They have no idea. But
It's a scary place for
It
them
is.
to be. I
It
hate
is.
that buyers are liars thing. That makes me
Doesn't
crazy.
it?
Because immediately you're setting up negativity. It's terrible. Why would you
Bam.
think of that as the clients, the
I
people
agree.
you're trying to help?
I had buyers that find me on Instagram. I have buyers that find me on Facebook. I have buyers. Last year, I had buyers. Majority of my deals were buyers from referrals because they heard my experience was above beyond. But I had buyers, that's a true story, that told my lender, I don't care if Steve has kids. I want half his commission. But you know what?
Who would say that?
Can you believe that?
No. It
Yes.
makes me, yes, I can. That's a problem.
But my
Makes me
lender
crazy.
stood up for me and he says,
Good.
but I do. You know what I mean? But you know what? I didn't give up on that buyer. I closed the deal.
Right.
And even that buyer still today is in my drip campaign. I still send him birthday cards. I still send him holiday cards. I even call him once in a while because I see something I post on Facebook that happened to this individual of a parent that got sick.
Well, you're not letting him
Yeah.
or her dictate how you behave.
Yes.
I love that because I think a lot of people allow that. Well, that person did me this way, so I'm going to do this. Okay, that if you're throwing your integrity out the window or your belief system out the window just because somebody did something to you, you need to figure out your foundation. People.
I 100% I agree.
It makes me absolutely crazy. Well, they were mean to me. I'm going to be mean to them. Why? That's more about you. It's all about you when you do that.
I agree.
You're giving them the power. I think I want to encourage you guys to really just think about some of the reactions that you have. Mr. Snowden, thank you for that wonderful comment. We appreciate you. What's your long-term goal?
My long-term
What's long-term for you?
You know what? My coach asked me that for the court. You know, he said, Steve, what do you want in the future? And I said, you know what? I want to do what you do. I want to build a team that, guess what's going to happen? Who's ever on my team, I'm going to coach him. When they walk in the room, I'm going to shut the door. And I'm going to just tell everybody, I want you to take 5 minutes of your time, or even just 30 seconds, and just scream everything out of everything. And whatever happened in that outside, let it out.
Right.
Because you got a team here. I want to coach these people because I want to make them feel like, you know what? I'm with Steve. I feel great. I'm a new agent. I'm an old agent. We all here. That's what I want. Because then, you know, if I could do that, Ted, I tell you something, I could come home, spend more time with my family, because it's not fair of my experience, and I come home, I put it on my wife and my kids, because you know why? They don't deserve it.
Right.
Anybody who works at home, don't bring it home to your children, your family. Don't bring it home to your husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend. It's not fair. And always something I'm going to share with you, Ted.
Okay.
And probably you do this. When you leave today from your house and when you come home to your home, I want you to tell them, I love you and thank you very much for everything.
Every day. Every single day. And you know what? There's so many people that miss that opportunity and they regret it. You got to say it. Every chance you have every moment you have an opportunity to do that, you should take it, because it sounds cliche, but it might not come again, that opportunity, and you have to. We love you, Shirley.
Yes.
Somebody else sent love earlier, and I appreciate that. Steve Bell, thank you. All right, so we're going to share all of Steve's contact information. How are you going to reach out to him? Maybe you could be his first coaching client. I don't know, somebody. I love that you plant seeds, and I love that you talk about that you want to help people, because that's back to the gratitude, give back perspective, which you obviously live all the time. And I love that. And sometimes people will watch the show and not know you, but because of the show and what you shared, they'll reach out to you. They could not even be in the real estate world, but they need that person to talk to that they've connected with. That's why I always talk about heart and soul on the show, because the rest of it doesn't matter. It just
I
doesn't.
agree.
All right, so I always love to leave the show with mentors, and you've referenced this a bunch already, and I love that, because we don't give enough credit to our mentors. In our hearts we do, but we need to speak it, put it out in the world, give thanks, And so is there a mentor or two that you want to just verbally say thank you and give a brief reason why? Maybe somebody that hasn't gotten your kudos lately, somebody that impacted your life. Anything you want to share?
Well, my biggest mentor and has changed my life, because I believe I've given up on this person many times, but this person has never given up to me. And it's really strange how things happens. And I would say it's God. I'm gonna tell you right now, Ted, I have given up on him so many times, but when I am on my knees every morning and I ask God, please look over my family, look over everyone, and I'm the last thing I ask him to look over for. And you know what? And my wife always tells me, he might not answer today, but he's gonna answer tomorrow.
It's true.
And it's a great example yesterday. I brought a buyer to see a house. This buyer did not like this house because whatever it is. I walked out the door, my wife's my assistant, and she goes, she didn't buy the house? And I go, no. And she goes, don't worry about it. I'm praying God right now to help you. I'm walking out the door and someone walked up and said, excuse me, are you selling this house? It happens. I'm not saying that how it does, but you gotta have faith. My second mentor is gonna be my wife, because I'm telling you, she puts up with so much with me, but always, she always tells me she loves me, and she's so good to me. She takes care of my children. And when you find someone in your heart that you really love, it could be your husband or wife, it could be your girlfriend or boyfriend, it could be your mother or your father. Just remember this, they're there for you. My other mentor is going to be definitely Matthews. I mean, the first time I met him, every time we sat down, we talked about things, I was getting so irritated because everything he was saying is true, right? When you meet people that tell you everything you do is wrong, because you know what? He was telling me what's the right thing to do.
Right.
Because you know what he says, Steve? You're an example, not for yourself, for your buyer, your seller, for our office. So if you don't do this right, not today or next year, 3 years, you can easily get sued.
Right.
So you know what? I swallowed my pride and I did exactly. And he's made me become this level to this level, things I never done.
Because his heart's in the right place. He's telling you things you might not want to hear.
Correct.
But he's telling you the truth as he sees it, and so that's a great mirror to hold up to you so you can kind of reflect, because we don't like to look at the things that we're not doing.
Correct.
Right? We're not really good at that as human beings. We need to, I'm a big believer in coaches, we need to have somebody who's our checks and balances, our accountability.
Some of the greatest players in the world. Tiger Woods has a coach.
Absolutely.
Michael Jordan has a coach. You know what? Even some of the greatest, Steve Jobs, had people coming in him. Even how stubborn he was, he had people been coaching him.
Sure.
But my last one I want to do a shout out is definitely in the core. The core, there's a lot of people who probably know the core is all about. Anthony Richard, you're like my brother. You're good to me, because you know what? He's definitely my coach, and he's my spiritual coach. He tells me what's good things, and he tells me what the right thing to do. But man, he makes me accountable. He makes me every Monday send these paperwork to show how many times I've called.
I love it.
Isn't that great?
We need that.
Call your people regularly. Call them on their birthday. And I'm going to tell you something. There's one girl, her name is Melina. She's a registered nurse. You know what I did for her? She was kind of need a little pop-up, a little love in her life. I went in a gas station, and I had a bunch of people there, and I asked them, would you help me sing a happy birthday? We recorded it on the video, and we posted and sent it to her.
Nice.
That brighter day.
It's really little things, people.
Doesn't it?
You can make such a big impact. All right, you've been a joy to have on the show.
I love it.
Thank you so much.
I'm excited.
Steve Emanuelli, you can look him up. We tagged him. Go find him. Reach out to him. He's obviously got a big heart and practices what he preaches, which I love. Thanks for being on the show, buddy. We
Take
love
care.
you guys. We'll comment later. We'll share. We'll see you soon.
Love you.
Mwah. We love you.